Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So I wanted to answer your guys' questions on The Walking Dead. There's a lot of questions here that I haven't got to yet, and a lot of fun questions here. I'm going to try to pick the ones that are more focused on The Walking Dead, Dead City specifically. I mean, there's some other things that are kind of fun, but I do want to stick with more of those questions just because the trailer just came out, and yeah, let's just get into it. So before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. The show is going to be coming out in like, what, it's 40-something days or something from now. So every single, usually every single day, but like every Sunday when the episode's coming out, I'll be doing videos breaking down every single episode, and I just can't wait. The Walking Dead's almost here. And I guess I should also remind you, if you do want to take part in these Q&As and future Q&As like this, then definitely go and join the Discord. The server name is Appetite for the Dead. The link for that should be in the description of this video, but let's get into the very first question. If they were to do a Tales of the Walking Dead Season 2, which stories would you like to explore? One story I would like is how Morales ended up in Negan's gang. That's a good question. I feel like, I would really like to see that as well. All of that frustration back then, honestly, is still there. Like, when I look back at that story, it's like, I really feel like they wasted Morales as a character because he was, like, honestly, like, he wasn't really, like, a memorable character. Oh, no, he was a memorable character. It's just he never had a big storyline or anything like that, right, in Season 1, but he was memorable. Like, you remember all of the characters from Season 1, right? And they actually brought him back now. Then they kill him off basically right away. And it wasn't even, like, a lot of time passed on the show. It was literally, like, what was it, 5, 10, 20 minutes or something like that? You know, it really wasn't a lot of time at all. So I think it would be kind of cool to see that. I still wish that he was like, you know, I guess maybe he just walked into Alexandria or something and everyone was like, whoa, it's Morales. But then we learn eventually that he's actually a savior. I think a story like that would have been a lot more fun, but it is what it is. I think in terms of a Tales story, though, I would really like to see the governor. I think there's a lot of characters that I would really like to see just in general, but the governor is a character that we've talked about for many years. There's all the books, the backstory there. There's been a lot of talk about that over the years. You know, they've asked like David Morrissey, who played the governor, about coming back, and I think he's shown interest and whatnot over the years. Like, that's the thing, I don't know where they're at now, but like, I feel like that is something that I don't know why they didn't do that. And I'm like, is it too late now? I don't know. I don't think it's too late. I think they could still do it, but you know, it could be. So Q&A, what is Bruegel's role going to be this season? Well, I think this season he's going to be the villain, and he'll be a big part of the season. I think that based off rumors, which obviously we don't know if they're true. I mean, they're rumors, but he's supposed to be in episode 1, then I think like the later episodes. And so, I mean, that's a typical villain. I feel like on The Walking Dead, you know, you're introduced in the first episode of the season. It's exciting and whatnot. And then later, you know, you start to show up a lot more. I think that, yeah, he's going to be a really, you know, terrifying villain overall. And I think that he should be a lot of fun, honestly. I think that Kim Coates is an incredible actor. And I think just having him like a part of The Walking Dead, especially, you know, working alongside Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I think is going to work really well. So I'm excited. I think that, he's going to do amazing. And I think, yeah, his role is going to be like, he's going to be the big villain of the season. Would you like to see a backstory on Major General Beale and possibly Bruegel? I think, I wouldn't mind like a Tales of the Walking Dead episode on that for sure. Bruegel, you could probably do that, I think, on The Walking Dead Dead City. I think you could totally do that there. But for Major General Beale, for sure, yeah, like you could totally do, I think, a backstory episode on the character, if they were to ever do a Tales of the Walking Dead Season 2. I mean, there is that show that's called, like, what, Tales of the Walking Dead Universe or something. There hasn't been a lot of mention of what's going on with that show, though, so I don't really know what's going on. But if they wanted to go back and do a lot of those stories, they definitely could. Like, I think a lot of people would get excited about a Major General Beale backstory, just because the character was really interesting. He really was, until obviously he wasn't. But, you know, going into the show, every episode that we saw him in, it was just like, I want to see more from him. I want to know more about, you know, I guess his backstory, literally, and like how dangerous is he? How powerful is he? And it just, you know, sometimes it would get there with the echelon briefing and whatnot. It was exciting, but it didn't quite get there overall. So I would say, yeah, I mean, a backstory with him would be kind of cool. Q&A, Maggie's character development doesn't get talked about enough. Definitely, I think for sure that is a thing. Like Maggie's character development overall, isn't discussed enough, because I think a lot of it is like her story is so intertwined with Negan's story, right? So it's kind of one of those things where, like, if you focus so much on that storyline specifically, it's easy to kind of ignore a lot of the character development she's actually had. And so that's why I actually think, though, this season we're going to see a lot more of that, because of those scenes with Maggie and Herschel. I think that seeing those scenes with Maggie and Herschel, it's going to change Maggie just in general, because the one thing about the character I will say is we haven't seen her really being like a mom on the show, right? Like, Herschel was just kind of there. Like, we've seen some scenes, I guess, looking back at season 9 and whatnot, but based off the trailer anyways, we see a lot of that. And I think that we're going to see that mother-son connection quite a bit here. I think this is where we're going to see so much character development from Maggie. And I'm really excited for her story, because, I mean, we literally saw the trailer, her holding Lucille like crazy, right? So Q&A, do you think that the one day they filmed in New York will be something to do with Rick Grimes being a part of season 3 of Dead City? That I don't know. Like, I'm wondering if it is. I feel like it could be. It's like I think about that still, because it's very weird. It was like one day of filming and that was it. And it was rumored to be Walking Dead related, but I don't know. In order for it to be like Rick Grimes related, we'll have to wait and see. Like, obviously Andrew Lincoln wasn't there or anything filming, because I think that everyone would have found out right away. So it depends on like what would actually be, you know, filmed, or like what was, maybe it was just exterior shots for something like a post-credit scene that they're going to film somewhere else. I don't know. But yeah, it's hard to say, to be honest. I don't really know, but I don't think it's Dead City or The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon related. I feel like it's either maybe Rick related, or it's related to like a new series or something like that. Q&A. Knowing that Negan killed Glenn and confessed to Ginny that he murdered her father, with them sharing the same event in their lives, will Herschel and Ginny come together to seek vengeance on Negan? No, that's really interesting. I feel like we talked about that quite a bit in season 1, because I think that was something that, like, when we learned that reveal, I was like, well, Herschel literally went through the same thing, so they're both going to be able to relate on that. I think that in terms of wanting to get revenge and all of that, like, it really depends on, like, I could see Ginny really feeling like that, but I could also see Herschel, like, maybe he eventually starts to be like, yeah, you know what, I want my revenge kind of thing. But I don't know, it's so hard, because it just depends on like where he's at with Maggie overall, right? And I think that's what we're gonna have to wait and see, because Maggie seems to overall want to support Negan, right, and like help him out. But it's I mean, yeah, that's definitely going to be something they explore this season for sure. Like, that's going to be something I think they will talk about. Q&A, how long before we get a reboot of the original The Walking Dead show? I think it'll eventually happen in the next 20 years. That's my prediction. I think that in 20 years from now, I could totally see it happening, because I think, like, there's only, you know, so far you can go with the story where it's really entertaining. And I think that, like, right now, it is still entertaining, but you also want to build to, like, the reunion, right, with everybody. And I think that's where everyone wants to get to. You can still always do more stories. There's still a lot of things that you can still explore. Again, there is, like, the, you know, whole next generation thing, and there's a lot of different things that you're able to do. But I think at some point, the idea of a reboot, I think, would eventually happen. You know, in terms of actually doing a reboot, though, I think in general it takes many, many years, right? So that's why I say 20 years from now, you know, I think they definitely will, because by then it'll be like 30, 35 years since the original Walking Dead started. And I could see them being like, all right, well, now it's time to actually do a reboot, because they actually will be able to at that point, because there's no way the actors are going to be able to play, you know, the current characters now, right? Because they're all going to be much older. Unless they want to play older versions of the characters, then definitely they can do that. So I guess that's the one aspect to it, right? It's just like, where do you end the story, and like, are you satisfied with like never seeing Rick like very old, or like Daryl very old, right? Because I think once you do a reboot, you kind of end that story overall. So it really depends. Q&A, the scene with Negan screaming no in the teaser, do you think the Croat and the Dama have Ginny hostage, and that's why he's screaming? That's a really good idea, actually. I do wonder if it is Ginny related, because I think for it to be Herschel, like, he would still react like that, but there's something different with Ginny for sure, because obviously he took care of her for like however many years, right? So there would definitely be something there. I think that if she was in a very dangerous situation, oh yeah, it's gonna, like, he's gonna get so angry. I could totally see that being his reaction, and like, I'm pretty sure she's gonna be with them, right? So Yeah, for sure. I honestly, I think that you're probably right about that. It probably is a reaction to Ginny. Hopefully it's just he learns that, you know, she was taken captive or something like that. But yeah, I think you're definitely right on that for sure. Q&A, with the discussion surrounding a potential Rick Grimes connection to Dead City, I feel that it has been an intentional choice to have both Rick and Negan effectively trapped in both of their stories, possibly to allow them to relate to each other further. Do you think then that we could see the Dead City Season 2 finale set up a conflict for the energy between Negan and Rick, either that or them fighting together against a larger force, probably a European group related to The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon Season 3. With the amount of work JDM has on right now, I don't know if this is possible, but I really will be disappointed if we don't have at least one extended episode of him with Andrew Lincoln. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see them reunite at some point, for sure. Like, I think it's going to be more than one episode as well. In terms of like Dead City's story, I guess connecting with a further story, like a further bigger story or whatever, that's also, I think, very possible, but it just depends on, like, it's really hard to sort of grasp, I guess, how big this story is going to be in season 2, because it could really be like really big, like a big story where New Babylon is trying to take over Manhattan, and like, depending on where it ends, it could really end in like this big way where it's like, okay, so maybe the CRM or other groups are going to get involved, right? Like, I don't know where this can go, but it might be a big thing, or it might be more of a smaller story just in New York where no one else really finds out. But it's not looking that way right now, but we'll have to wait and see, because we've been disappointed in the past, right? So I think that, you know, it might be a smaller story than we're expecting. I mean, I'm not expecting it to be like a big story, to be honest. I think that our expectations for what this could be is pretty much that. Like, it's just going to be something that will be a little bit bigger, you know, in terms of a threat level than what was happening in The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. And so I think, you know, it could be really fun, but we'll see where this goes. I think that, you know, we don't have to worry too much about them, you know, not reuniting. Like, it's going to happen. I do feel pretty confident in that. It's just the how is sort of what we're wondering. So, you know, is the stuff that we're seeing here this season gonna be, you know, how that happens? We're just gonna have to wait and see, really. Q&A, do you think that the CRM army is fully done? No, definitely not. The CRM army, I don't believe, is done at all. I think it's more of their rules of, like, you know, taking people captive and like all of that. Like, that's for sure done. There's no, like, you know, there's nobody like Beale there that's like evil kind of thing, right? So they've kind of turned it for the better, where they're more going to help people out now, give supplies to people, and they're more just, again, they're just going to help people out just kind of in general. So obviously we don't know how things work, you know, more specifically. So I think a new series or something, if they want to get into that, we'll learn a lot more there. But definitely the CRM army is not done yet. Q&A, do you think there will be a 2-year gap in between every season of Dead City? Is the big gap between seasons hurting your hype at all? Well, no, definitely not. I don't think so, because we had a lot of stuff in between Dead City Season 1 and Dead City Season 2. Honestly, because there's other shows, you know, and it's not like spinoffs like Fear and stuff, I'm okay with waiting, right? Like, I think that's one of the things about, you know, doing spinoffs and all that. Like, if they did a spinoff next year where it was basically Tales of the Walking Dead Season 2 instead of Dead City Season 3, I mean, it definitely doesn't hurt my excitement, but I'm not as excited. But it depends though, right? It depends on the characters they want to bring on the show. So waiting 2 years is not the end of the world, I think, because we have the other shows. But like, I really hope that we don't have to wait 2 years, because honestly, like, I would be really frustrated with that. But I'm gonna leave it here though. Thank you so much for posting all of your questions. I love doing these Q&As every single week. I know this Q&A was a bit later than normal, so I do apologize for that. And I know this video is a little bit different, you know, than my normal Q&A videos, because I'm actually on camera here, but I was doing a members video, so I was like, well, I'll just record it like this, and I might as well. So again, I appreciate all your support. Thank you so much for all the questions, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.